So guys, earlier today I went to a farm, an onion farm, and I came home with so many onions, and with them I made this caramelized onion cornbread. You see I already took a bite out, but you know. So I'm gonna take you with me to the farm right now. We're gonna just go back in time, and I'll also show you how to caramelize onions, but how to also make this delicious cornbread, which by the way is perfect for the holidays. Let's go. The Hudson River Valley is just an hour and a half north of New York City. It's great to know that we can get local produce from so close by. I love local produce because it's fresher, it has a shorter way to travel, and can be picked at the perfect time. Buying local also supports the local economy and has a smaller carbon footprint. Win-win. And actually, the reason we were invited to Minkus Family Farms is that they're participating in this cool new New York State program that certifies New York farmers who use eco-friendly and food-safe practices. They showed us around their facilities, and it was so interesting to see what happens to our food in the time before it ends up at the grocery store. It's cool to see the actual human beings responsible for feeding us. And it was reassuring to get a first-hand look at all the things Minkus Family Farms has to do to qualify for the Empire State New York Grown and Certified program. They use as little pesticide as possible, their facilities use a lot of solar power, and they're committed to protecting the super-duper rich soil that the Black Dirt region is famous for. They use techniques like crop rotation and cover crops to maintain the integrity of the soil. We missed harvest time, which is in August, so we didn't get to pick any onions, but they were around us in huge numbers. They store onions in this ginormous temperature and humidity controlled warehouse. It keeps them fresh for months. I've never seen so many onions. Rick Minkus, who started the farm almost 25 years ago, gave us the inside scoop. He was so nice. The farm employs around 55 people, including members of the Minkus family. We came outside to find even more onions. All these crates were filled with them. Rick taught us how to pick a good onion. The papery stem part should be super dry. Any moisture means trouble. And of course, they should be firm all around. After a great visit, we headed back to the city with a ton of onions of our own. Now we're back in New York, and we have a ton of onions from Minkus Family Farms. So let's go back to my place and make something with these onions. I'm thinking a really good recipe will be caramelized onions on top of cornbread, like baked into the top. I love to do that, so let's go do it. Now I think it's a good idea to do caramelized onions today with all these onions we've got, because caramelized onions add so much depth and deliciousness and flavor and goodness to almost any meal. So we're gonna start by cutting up our onions. We're gonna half them and cut them into thin slices. You wanna make sure that your slices are all about the same thickness. So I like to do like 1/4 of an inch or so. And next, you've got to saute them. Now, I always recommend using a cast iron skillet for pretty much anything you're cooking, but especially for onions, for caramelized onions, because it's not gonna stick, keeps an even heat, and so you don't have to worry so much about them burning either. So make sure you have a well-greased skillet and add a little bit more oil to the center of the skillet. Once it's warm, add your onions in. And I like to just add all my onions in and break them up with a wooden spoon. And now at this point, before they start to cook down too much, I just add a little bit of sea salt. Adding salt will help to break down the onions and help them release more of their moisture. So the thing about caramelizing onions is that you allow them, by cooking them at a medium temperature for a long period of time, you allow them to release their sugars, which is how they become caramelized. They become brown, slightly sweet, very soft, perfect texture. So at the very beginning, you got your onions started on a medium-high heat. So after they start to break down a little bit, start to soften, you want to reduce your heat first to medium. And as soon as they start to become translucent, then you can reduce your heat even more to like a medium-low heat. Again, we're watching for our onions to start to become brown. That's when you know that they're releasing their sugars and they're beginning to caramelize. So once you've got it on like medium-low heat and they really start to soften, they start to turn brown, you can even reduce the heat a little bit more to just above low heat. You don't want it so low that it's just not going to cook, but you don't want it too warm that it'll actually begin to burn. So we're going to have it cooking on very medium-low heat for about 30 minutes, and you can stir them occasionally. Don't feel like you need to constantly stir your onions. You can let them do their thing. You can walk away. It is important to stir occasionally just because you want the ones at the bottom that are caramelizing nicely to give the ones that are at the top a bit of a turn as well. So some people, once their onions start to break down really nicely, about like the halfway point, they add sugar. So you can add brown sugar to your caramelized onions. You can add white sugar. You can even add fancy stuff like coconut sugar. That's quite nice. And adding sugar will of course help them caramelize even more, and they just make them sweeter. So it kind of depends. Like I don't usually add sugar because I think these onions bring out enough, they have enough sweetness on their own. But if you do like a sweeter caramelized onion, you're going to add sugar, just about a tablespoon. Alternatively, if you like a little bit of a tang to your caramelized onions, add vinegar. I like to do this at like 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through cooking, so at about the 30-minute mark or so. Adding the vinegar, of course, helps to deglaze the pan, taking off that excess caramelized and sugars at the bottom of the pan, but it also helps to cook them down more, and of course, it gives them that tangy, vinegary flavor. To make the cornbread, combine cornmeal, I'm using white, but you can use any, flour, salt, baking powder, baking soda, and sugar, and whisk to combine. For the wet ingredients, start by making a flax egg. Just mix ground flax with water and let it sit. When it has thickened up, add soy milk, oil, vinegar, and whisk it all up. Pour the wet into the dry and mix until smooth, and then pour into a baking dish. Our caramelized onions are almost finished, but I think it's a good idea now to put some of the onions on top of that cornbread so that it can cook and bake right into the cornbread. And of course, while they're in the oven, they'll caramelize a little bit more as well. And with the rest of the caramelized onions still in the skillet, we're just going to continue to cook those until they're all that nice soft texture, sort of crunchy, but still that rich brown color. So we've got our cornbread in the oven, baking away. It's gonna be delicious. And of course, the last bit of our caramelized onions are just finishing up behind me on the skillet. Now, for these caramelized onions, you can use them on a thing like cornbread or any other quick bread like a focaccia, or even on something like pizza, or really anything. You can stick them in the fridge to store them and add them to whatever you're making throughout the week for anything. I mean, even for breakfast. Caramelized onions in a breakfast burrito are so good, or even like in a tofu scramble. Caramelized onions are just really great to have on hand because they add so much more flavor and goodness to whatever you're eating. Ooh la la. I hope you guys enjoyed coming to the farm with me today and making these beautiful caramelized onions. I think I have like 10 pounds or so, maybe a little bit more than 10 pounds of onions left. So I'm super excited to find other ways to use my onions from the farm. And if you have any ideas for me, let me know. Of course, I love pickling onions. I'm actually gonna link to a different video where I show how to pickle onions. Love to pickle them, love to caramelize them, love to just saute them. But I do need ideas for other creative ways to use them. So let me know. Make sure you check out the NY certified program. So if you live here in New York State or if you live in the surrounding areas, just look for that little NY certified stamp along with all the other certifications on your produce that you find and that you buy, because that means you're supporting local New York farmers. And as you see, these farmers do have really great standards. They're doing amazing things. And I just think it's very important to support them. So thanks for NY Certified for having me and letting me share this. And of course, thanks to Minkus Family Farms for opening up their doors for me and the other bloggers that visited. So I guess it's time to eat the cornbread now. Oh God, it looks so good. It's like perfectly moist. Let's see. Delicious. And I will be sharing the recipe for these caramelized onions and for this cornbread on my blog. I'll put a link for all of that below. So check it out. And again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.